Happy Monday, you guys. This is day 5 of the 12 days of page turners. You know, there's 20 days left till Christmas. The best gift you can give anybody this holiday season is a book. And hey, lucky for you, I have 5 new wonderful authors tonight that are all offering holiday promotions on their books. So that's enough from me. Let's get hearing from these amazing authors. So first up, we're going to bring Diane up on stage. Diane, how are you?
I'm great. How are you?
You know, I am doing good. It's Monday and I am doing fantastic. So tell us, what genre you write in and how long you've been writing.
Oh, goodness. I write mostly cozy mystery and mystery. I have been writing since I could hold a pencil. and But my book seriously kept being published about 10 years ago. So the one right over my shoulder here, Dead Man's Doll, is number 14. So it was very exciting.
Wow. So what was that pivotal moment in your life where you got, bitten by the writing bug, so people say, and it is, you've decided to write and publish a book?
See, for me, I had always been a writer, always been a storyteller. And it was when I moved actually across, I live in Canada, and I actually moved from one side of Canada almost to the other. And living in a brand new place, I'm like, well, what a better way to get to meet people is to see if I can find some fellow writers. And they really encouraged me to be serious and try and get some things published. And, here we are, 14 books later.
I love that. So what made you want to write in the genre that you write in?
I actually won a contest. Before that, I was just kind of writing. Didn't know what I wanted to write. Didn't know what I liked. But I always have loved puzzles. I've always loved mysteries. And I entered a quick little contest to write a novella based on a murder mystery party game, which I can see in front of me, and I forgot to put down here. But you had to write 10 chapters, and they're all in a different person's point of view. And if you ever want to stretch your limits as a writer, that's a really good way to do it. But I ended up winning the contest, and that's how my first novella was published.
Wow. So that's what really kind of jump started and dived you into it. Now here you are 14 books later. That's incredible. So what has your publishing journey been like?
Oh, very twisty and turny. I literally stumbled into getting an agent. I had someone read my very first book and give me some feedback. And she said, oh, great. Once you get that done, send it to this lady. And I'm like, why would I send it to this person? And then I Googled her and went, oh, she's an agent. So the lady that I went in a critique group with was a reader for this agent. And she is the one who helped me get my publisher. Problem was, I have a Canadian publisher. It was a US agent, and I'm a Canadian author. And my US agent went, this is way too complicated. So she stepped out, and I have been with my publisher ever since, and they are just fantastic. And I found out today, just today, one of my books is going to be turned into an audiobook in the new year. So I'm very excited.
Wow. Which book is that?
All That Sparkles. It's one of my Glitter Bay mysteries.
Wow. Congratulations.
Thank
That's
you.
A big deal.
It was exciting.
So is it your first audiobook?
It is, yeah.
Wow, even better. And you waited to share that with us. I know,
special. Right? I only found out like 3 hours ago. It was so cool.
I feel so special.
Good.
Diane, I love that. So do you think that you'll ever dabble in different genres, or are you going to stick within the same one?
Well, I do NaNoWriMo, so National Novel Writing Month. Trying to write 50,000 words in 30 days, which I did. So my next mystery is written. I just have to give it a really good edit. And in the meantime, while I'm writing this mystery, there's this romance novel in the back of my head going, write me next. And I'm also working on a fantasy novel with a friend of mine, and we're probably about halfway through it. So.
Nice. So what kind of romance? I learned yesterday that there is, that genre is just
there are
so many. Yeah.
I'm kind of leaning towards one of those nice little Hallmark romance Christmas mystery or Christmas ones. Mystery just keeps popping out of my mouth. Sorry. But I'm still working out the whole concept, but I kind of have a vague outline. So that's going to be kind of fun to work on.
Nice. Well, I love that for you. And hey, I'm a sucker for a good Hallmark movie. I usually nail them like 5 minutes in, but I still love them,
Yeah, you and me both.
It's not Christmas without watching them, right? Even the like
Right.
really corny ones, I
Yep.
love those. Oh, I love them. So has your publisher published all of your books, or do you have multiple publishers?
At one point I had two different publishers, and one of my publishers was actually in California, and we kind of came to a little bit of a disagreement on a couple of things. So they let me go, and I turned to my Canadian publisher and I'm like, is there any chance you guys would publish these? And they went, yeah, send them. So all of a sudden, the 3 books that I already had in the series, plus a 4th book, were all published in 1 year. So that was my 2018.
Nice. I love nice, publishers that will do that and consider that, right? I mean,
They are fantastic.
I love to hear that because everyone's publishing journey is different and every book's journey to being published is different. I have encountered that time and time again. So
Yeah,
I
I
that.
have one of my books that has 3 different versions on my shelf. So totally get that.
Wow. Okay. Nice.
Yeah.
So you can see how each time, it probably got better each time, right? So you
Well,
see
it was mostly the cover. That
nice.
They just rebranded it a couple of times, and I look at the very first one and go, I wish we would have stuck with that one because that was my favorite. But it is what it is.
Definitely. So tell us a little bit about your latest book.
My latest book, well, I'll talk about, earthquake here. Dead Man's Doll is my first series set in Canada. So it's my Sugarwood Cove Sugarwood Mysteries. And Audra Clemmings and her best friend have a little craft shop. And 2 doors over from their shop is this little shop that sells all these interesting little things for witches and essential oils and all these great things. And she kind of keeps getting sucked over there and attracted by what's going on. In this book in particular, she goes over to see Miss Lavinia, who runs the shop, and ends up stumbling over a dead body, as well as finding Miss Lavinia collapsed on the floor. So it sets up kind of a fun, interesting little mystery.
It does for sure. Oh my goodness. I don't know. I don't like being left on cliffhangers, where I'm
sorry. You have to read the book.
I know, it's one of those. I always go broke during the 12 days. Okay. It's like one of those. I am a sucker and I love good stories. And I mean, I just said how it happens for me. It just definitely does. But speaking of the 12 days and holidays, Diane, can you tell us a little bit about what holiday promotion you're offering this holiday season?
Absolutely. Right around the same time we were setting this up, my publisher announced that we are doing 50% off on all my books on Smashwords. And that starts December 15th and runs right till the new year.
Wow, 50% off?
50% off.
That is awesome that your publisher is doing that.
It's
hands down.
We're doing some fun things.
I love it. So what's next for you besides your romance, holiday, or what is it? What Hallmark romances that you got going? What else is
right? As I said, I just finished NaNoWriMo, so book 3 of my Glitter Bay Mysteries will be coming out in June, and that is the same series that the audiobook will be in.
Oh, nice. I like it.
Me too.
Diane, you are just so fun. I feel like me and you would just get along perfectly. Whenever
oh my gosh.
If I come to visit Canada, which y'all are cold up there, I'm probably not. I'm
actually, you know what? Where I'm at, I'm in Ontario, and right now I'm still wearing my running shoes and walking to work. There's no snow.
What is it like?
right now it's just great. It's not hot and sunny. It's just you need a jacket and you need your hat, but it's still pretty nice compared to the prairies that are like -40.
Yeah,
So
no. I'm okay. See,
yeah,
in Texas here, I'm good at like 80. You know, I'm good.
one
Yeah,
day I'll have to come to Texas and warm up.
yeah, come visit, Diane. Come visit. But
Absolutely.
thank you so much for taking time out of your evening and for wanting to be a part of the 12 days and for you and your publisher offering this amazing holiday promotion this holiday season, Diane. It is
Thank you,
really
Amy. It's always fun
wonderful.
to chat.
Yes. So you guys, I know you guys are telling me you can't see my camera. I don't know why, but we're just going to keep it going. My camera is not important. Disclaimer to it's a boy is my mom just had her, I don't even know, grandchild like 8 or 9. He
Oh,
was just born. I just got the photo for. I was on baby watch. So that is why she put in the comment that it's a boy. We already knew it was a boy. So
oh, that's cool. Congratulations.
fun night. Yes, fun night. So you guys, coming up next is Dr. Warnert. Dr. Warnert, how are you this evening?
I am great.
Oh, I love it. Dr. Warnert, you always have so much energy when I talk to you. I love it. So Dr. Warnert, tell me what genre you write in and how long you've been a writer.
My genre is I just have one book, and it's a story of my wife and I driving from London to Egypt and back 17,200 miles in 6 months. And the name of the book is The 6 Month Honeymoon.
Right. I love that. So I have read your book, Dr. Warner, and I know you are a just wild man. And the stories that are in this 6-month journey that you had with your wife, and it is an incredible story. And I know the cover of the book is a painting that your wife did. Is that correct?
Yes, the part of it, she did the artwork.
I love that. So, what made you want to write and put this into a book?
Well, for a long time, I would go to different meetings or with different church groups, and I'm a geologist, and they go to the meetings with different geologists, and I would always people would say, "Well, what about you? Said you went on a big trip. Tell us about it a little bit." So I would begin to tell them different stories that happened or different adventures that happened on our trip. And you can imagine in 6 months, that's I think 180 days, and a lot of things happened. So one day, over the period, a friend of mine came up and said, "Walt, you really ought to write a book on this." He said, "Why don't you put all these things together and then put out a book with it?" So I started to write just on a tablet. Just started writing different ones and dating them, and said, "Well, I think this happened about March 10th or something like that." And so anyway, I gathered all these stories up, uh, and decided that one day I decided that I was going to take this and put it together, which I did. And it took me about, total about 2.5 years to write the book, because I'm a geologist, and I write a lot of papers, geological papers, and they're scientific papers, but I've never written a novel or anything like that before. So I found that it was very, very difficult. And the nice thing about writing the book was the fact that as I was writing the book, I was actually reliving the entire trip. I was reading, it was really awesome, because when I first started out, it was a little difficult. But after a while, I started getting into the flow of it. And I uh, I was starting to write, and my writing I felt was going much more smoothly, and the different times that we had uh, always impelled that forward. So uh, I think that's one, and also I wanted to document what we had done and where we had gone, and especially because we traveled at a time that was very different. We traveled from late 1963 when Kennedy got shot. I landed in uh, uh, in Lisbon, Portugal, on November 22nd, 1963,
Wow.
and that was the day Kennedy got shot.
Right.
And and then we went up through June the next year. And this was a time when the Second World War was over in 45, but we had a Lend-Lease program for another 10 years. That brought it up to 1955. And so we were only a few years after that. And we were in cities and towns that were, the buildings were half up, the reconstruction, roads weren't finished. It was, it was kind of an interesting time to travel. There's nobody on the road. We had very few. There were no tourists. I think just about. We were probably the only ones who were there that didn't live there. And in talking to a lot of the people, every town we went into, we stopped at a cafe and went in and found somebody in the cafe to talk to. And we talked, uh, we found the local, what was going on in the town and what had happened in the town. And usually they always kind of told us their war stories because, as I say, it was just a short time after the end of the war. And so it was a very stimulating time to be talking to these people who were all very sincere. Not very many people were happy. It
Right.
was it was not a happy time to be meeting these people. They were they were just getting out of the phases of not having enough to eat. Their houses were burned down. They're now rebuilding, and so it was a very interesting. It was a very interesting time.
It was. So, Dr. Warren, how did you get around doing your travels? You went the 17,200 miles, I believe is what you said. How did you get around?
Well, we bought a Triumph Spitfire. It was a little brand new car made by Triumph, and it was a roadster, two-seater with a soft top. And the great thing about it, I bought it sight unseen, except in a brochure, but it had all the specifics that I wanted. And we traveled. We got 40 miles on a gallon with that car.
What color
And
was it?
fire engine red and
Are
black.
they usually that color?
No, that was I think that was almost the first time they ever painted the car red. They
Right.
don't, the English don't paint cars red. They paint them gray and green and dark blue and those kinds of drab colors. But we had an incident in when we arrived in Egypt. We on our way to Cairo. Well, we almost died actually. We got into in the desert. You have these sudden huge sandstorms, and they come up in a few minutes, and we were almost buried in the sand. The
Oh my
sand got up,
goodness.
the sand got up to the windows and the of the car, and we prayed, and my wife screamed out. She said, Walter, are we going to die? And I said, no, no, the Lord did not let us drive all this way to die in a desert.
In a red Spitfire of all things.
Yeah,
That
right.
would be me. I would be like your wife. I would just be like, we're gonna die, just freak
Yeah,
out,
it was pretty scary. Anyway, all of a sudden, it stopped, just like that.
Right.
And took us 6 hours to get out of the car, and because of this, to get the car moving again. So
That's crazy. And sand gets everywhere. It
was.
it's one of those things you love to.
But my point was, the right side of the car was completely metal. There was no paint on the car anymore.
Wow.
And so when I went in to the dealer in Cairo, he said, well, I don't know what I'm going to do. He said, we don't paint cars red. I don't know where you got this car. And I said, well, it's from your shop in London. So he said, well, I'll see what we can do. And we came back a week later, and my car was just like brand new.
Nice.
I said, I thought you didn't have any paint. And he said, I didn't either, but I got a shipment of red paint for some reason.
It's so divine. So, Dr. Warner, tell us about the holiday promotion you're offering this holiday season.
Well, I'd like to offer my Kindle book for 99 cents from 15th to the 25th of the month.
Wonderful. I will have that linked in the comment section down below. But Dr. Warner, man, I could sit and listen to you tell stories and relive you and your wife's 6-month honeymoon, because one, I have never heard of anyone having a 6-month honeymoon. I'm a little jealous, for one. And two, the adventures that you guys went on. And I love that you relive them and that you wrote the book to, kind of relive it. Yeah. You're never going to forget it. And I love that. And I admire that of you, Dr. Warner. I think it's incredible. So thank you so much. And thanks for joining us for the 12 Days of Page Turners and hanging out with me and my crazy self this evening.
Okay. And I was going to try to see if I could show the cover of my book here.
Go for it. Can you hold it up just a little bit?
Here's
a little bit away.
Just a little bit away. Okay. There. That's a little bit. There's that.
Perfect.
And there's the artwork that my wife, that's San Francisco.
Wow.
So
I love it, Dr. Warner. It is a beautiful cover, and your wife is extremely talented. Extremely talented. Let's see. Well, you guys, coming up next, she is no stranger to the 12 Days of Page Turners or Author Talk or any realm by that. But Miss Julie Connor is going to join us. So, Julie, come on down. Come hang out with me, Julie, if it wants to work with me. Yes, there you are.
Hey, Julie.
Hey,
so
Julie.
Nice to see everyone, and congratulations to the new aunt for the 8th time you said, and congratulations to your family. What exciting news. You have a Christmas baby now for all time.
I know, it's so exciting. You know my mom, Julie. So my mom's head over heels. She's excited. So it's definitely an exciting day for sure. But Julie, tell everybody what genres you write in and how long you've been writing.
Well, like Diane was saying, I've written my whole life, but the first real writing, I would say, was when I was getting my MFA at the University of Houston. I had to write short stories for my thesis, and they're published and bound and somewhere in the library at the University of Houston. But then I went on and did other things. And one of the things I did was I wrote for my newspaper in high school and college, and I thought I was going to be a journalist maybe. I took journalism courses at Louisiana State University, although I didn't graduate from LSU. My undergraduate college, Rice University in Houston, didn't do journalism. So I went in summer times and did journalism at LSU. So I thought I might be a journalist. And in the end, I didn't have that kind of writing career. I joined the U.S. Foreign Service, and I served with the first United States Information Agency and then with the U.S. Department of State for 33 years. So that was writing, and I wrote every day. but it was a different kind of writing. It was professional writing. I wrote speeches for the ambassador, or I wrote press releases, or I wrote reports back to Washington of the different programs and projects we've been doing at my posts. So it was a very different kind of writing. Like Dr. Warnock said, he did writing for science journals. I was doing writing for government reading, and for newspaper reading, that is press releases, and for my ambassador speeches, but it wasn't what we think of as creative writing. But since retiring, I've gone back to creative writing. And my main genre is travel writing. And so my first and second books both have an international aspect, because that's my majority of my adult life has been spent in international environments. So I do nonfiction, which is my first book, and then a fiction, but with an international twist, is my second book, which is a children's book. And that's where I am. Along the way, I also ended up being a publisher, not just a writer. So I have a small traditional publishing house, and we just came out this year with my first new author. I'm excited about that, even though it's not my book. I'm so thrilled to have published this new book. And that author, her name is Carrie Carter, she'll be on with Amy on the 7th. So you get a chance to hear from her in person. I won't talk about her book too much. I'll stick with my books.
I love it, Julie. So I know that you said that you retired, and so you decided to, fulfill your writing dream and everything like that. Do you find it easier to write books like you're savoring the Camino de Santiago, more so easier than writing like the forms and articles for government to read? Is it easier to write your own kind of book? I've never written books, so I have no idea. That's why I'm asking for my own information.
I guess it's not easier. And I say that because I write best with deadlines. I think that's a holdover from my days doing journalism. Give me a deadline and tell me what to write, and I will do it for you. But if you leave it up to me, it's hard for me to find the time just to sit down and write. I'm not a disciplined writer like some writers are. They put aside 2 hours every day and just write, because I have a lot going on in my life, and I just don't find those 2 hours every day. So this year, for example, to follow up on what Diane was saying, I signed up for the first time ever for NaNoWriMo, the National Novel Writing Month. I'm an abject failure with NaNoWriMo. Diane said she got her 50,000 words done in the month. Well, I'm embarrassed to tell you how many words I wrote, because things happened. Things happened in November. I did 3 out-of-town book events, and just everything around my life made that impossible. Not to mention you have Thanksgiving in the middle of it, in the middle of the month. So anyway, I find writing under a deadline and nonfiction writing much easier than creative writing with no deadlines and you're on your own. Having said that, writing is easy for me. Once I sit down at my computer and start writing, it flows pretty well. I don't have writer's block or anything like that. It's just finding the time. And I'm always writing in my head, if that makes any sense. Like, I'm a member of a critique group, and we're having a small holiday contest tomorrow night. And I haven't written what I'm going to present yet, but all day long today I was thinking in my head, what am I going to write and to have ready to present for the contest tomorrow night? And I'll get it done before the time. I got a deadline, I'll get it done.
Exactly. I have no doubts, Julie, that you will get it done. If I would anticipate anybody getting it done, it would be you, because I know that you're dedicated and you do like deadlines. And I love deadlines. I don't like outlines. Outlines stress me out. So I don't know. I'm going to go out on a limb and say that you are, like a plotter? Like you outline when is that your writing style?
Yes, it is. They talk about these different kinds, pantsers who just write by the seat of their pants, and plotters who plot their stuff. I have an outline in my head. Now, as I go along, I adjust the outline and I add and I subtract, but I have a basic idea of what I want to do.
Yeah. See, I am envious of that, because even in high school when I had to write outlines, it always stressed me out. That's why I'm more of a free-for-all, write just whimsical, I guess, in that sense of that. I wish I was structured in that. but that structure really comes across in your books, because they're very focused and they flow so nicely in both of your books. Like we're talking about, the one I'm talking about is your Camino, de Santiago one, which you say so much more beautiful than I do. But this one, it just flows, and you can tell it's very structured going into it. And so I can appreciate that, and I strive for those kind of outcomes, because I'm not that way at all.
It's so nice to hear you say that, Amy, because I really struggled with my book Savoring the Camino de Santiago, because it's a hybrid. It's a part how to do it. If you're going to take this amazing adventure and go on the Camino de Santiago, how should you organize yourself to do it? So that's part of the book. But the other part of the book is the memoir of my journey along the Camino. So I thought, how do I do this? Do I have one chapter how-to and one chapter memoir, alternate them? Do I braid them somehow? Do I put the memoir chapters that are relevant to what I've been talking about after the how-to chapter? It was the hardest thing for me, was figuring out what felt comfortable in organizing the book. But I finally arrived at an organizational scheme that I thought worked. And I'm happy with it. So it makes me happy to hear you say that you thought it flowed well.
It does. I mean, it truly does. And it has, like the memoir / guide feel to it. Like if I ever decide to go and walk, this trail, I would feel prepared for it. But you do that through your own journey. Does that make sense? Like I get all that from your memoir part of it and the journey of it. And I find something beautiful about that, because it's relatable in a sense where if I ever decided to go and do that, that is what would play in my mind,
Yes. That's nice to hear also. One of the things that they say that a writer should go into a project with is, who's your audience? And so I actually realized after I finished writing the book that my audience are people who have never, ever thought about the Camino, but my book might prompt them to start thinking, well, maybe I want to do the Camino, and here's what I need to know, and she's telling me. So that's the group who are thinking about maybe walking the Camino. And the second group is people who know they will never do the Camino, but want to know about the experience. So those are the two groups that my book is aimed at. And I have to say, it has a point of view, an attitude. And one of my concerns when I wrote the book was that Camino enthusiasts, and I actually call them Camino fundamentalists, might take objection to some of the things I write, because I don't think you have to be a purist about your journey. It's your journey. Do it however is comfortable for you. And I know that attitude comes through in my book because I talk about it a lot.
Yeah, I think that's what I appreciated the most, because we're all going to do that journey differently. We're all doing it for different reasons. So I appreciated that, I think, the most about it. But I am, a crazy person in of itself, but I deeply appreciated it. But I know that you're running some holiday specials and promotions on your website and things like that this holiday season. So can you tell us about those? And I'll pull all of them up.
Well, first I'd like to just talk a tiny bit about my second book. It's a children's book, and it's about international adoption. And let me see if I can put the cover up of that book so you can just see what it looks like. And this is actually an adoption. This book was a COVID project. I would never have written this book if I hadn't been at home, not able to travel to do the research I needed for my next book. But it's a labor of love for all those families that are adopting or have adopted, or families who know someone who's adopted, because there's not that much available for children on adoption. So it's something I wanted to share, and it's unique on the market. So that's one little thing I wanted to add. And then the last thing I'd just like to mention is that I, along my journey of becoming a publisher, ended up having the opportunity to represent a company called St. Nicholas. It's a company out of England, and they do these unique ornaments and I have been in love with their ornaments for years. The top row you can see is literary authors or literary figures. And then the bottom row is ornaments that have something to do with one of my books, like the shell that's the symbol of the Camino. So all of these ornaments I pick and I sell. You can't buy these online, and you cannot buy them at most places. They're usually sold only at museum shops or historical sites and their little shops. But I convinced them to let me sell them, so I have a few of those. So as for my my holiday offer, I decided this year that all of my products, all of my books, my ornaments, everything, I'm just going to give a $2 discount on it. So if you want to buy anything of mine, you're going to get a $2 discount. But to do that, you need to email me, and then I will arrange for you to get your discount. So the ornaments, the 2 books, and even my new author's book, they'll all be for sale for a $2 discount.
Wonderful, Julie. I love it. And I have your book. It is right there on my bookshelf, on the bottom shelf. You can't see my bookshelf, but it's there. I promise. I do have it, and I have read it. My mother has read it, and we are big fans, Julie. It is beautifully written and flows very nicely. You should be very proud of the books and the works that you put out. Carrie's book is amazing as well. I know we're talking to her on the 7th, and we'll dive into that. But you should be very proud of your publishing company and the books that you have put out, and your holiday offer is wonderful. So thank you so much for offering that this holiday season and for joining me on the 12 Days of Page Turners. And I love your necklace. I am very jealous of it. It's gorgeous.
Can you see the earrings? They go
I
with
know
the
they match, and they're red, which is my favorite color. And we both have red lipstick on. We're vibing. I love it. I love it, Julie. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Amy, for organizing this every year and giving us a chance to talk about our books before Christmas and with the holiday spirit all upon us.
Oh, of course. I love authors, and any way I can help, I love to do that. So with all that being said, a new author to me this year is coming to the stage. Miss Pauline Jones is coming down. Pauline, how are you today?
I'm doing great, thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Oh, good. So
Thank you, and congratulations on your grandkids. I have 4 grandkids. I mean, your new baby. I have 4 grandkids,
yeah.
So tell your mom.
Oh, yeah. My mom is in hog heaven. She tuned in to tell me that. I'm telling you, she's in hog heaven. I've got pictures up, but if I showed pictures, my sister would hate me. So I can't do that. But he is very, very adorable. His name is going to be Ethan. So he's very adorable for sure. But tell us what genre you write in and how long you've been a writer.
That's a hard question because I write in several, as you know.
Yeah.
I talked about that. What I would probably like to do is start with how I ended up being multi-genre. I grew up in northern Wyoming, and I had a great childhood, but it's a very Spartan place. I joke about how Spartan Wyoming is. And we moved to New Orleans, and I was not prepared at all to move to New Orleans in my life. It's like the total opposite of Wyoming in every way you could imagine possible. I mean, just take the Mardi Gras parades. If you've ever seen the pictures of everybody with their hands up, yelling, "Give me something, mister." In Wyoming, when you go to a parade, you go like this. One finger. There's no hand raising. There's not much shouting. But it was an eye-opening and one mind-expanding experience. And New Orleans is such a creative place. I'd always wanted to be a writer, but I really believe that creative. Am I still here? I spun for a minute.
Yeah, still here.
The people are just so big-hearted and generous. I just fell in love with them. And I don't know if I'm still here. Everybody's spinning.
No, your
I'll
photo
just keep talking and hope. it really opened my mind, and that's when I started writing. And but the funny part of it is I only wrote one book while I was living in New Orleans. So we had to move away before I could start really writing and get enough distance from the city to really write about it. Could you hear me through all that? I don't know. You were all spinning for me.
No, I heard you. You froze at creative, but then you came back and you were frozen.
So anyway, I ended up writing in a lot of genres before I actually settled on my romantic suspense series, The Big Uneasy. So I've written sci-fi, time travel. I think it must be me, huh?
What those are the only 2 genres that you've written in? Oh, you can't hear me. Can everybody else hear me?
I don't know if anybody can hear me.
Let's see. Can you hear me now? Can you hear us now? Let's see. I'll pull you from the screen. I'll pull myself up and we'll go back. Let's see if that helps. Everybody else can hear me though, right? Yeah, okay. I want to make sure it's not me because, it's been that kind of a thing.
Hi, Amy. Am I still here?
Yes. Can you hear us? No, you can't hear us? Let's see.
Not sure.
Okay. Well, let's see. Pauline, we'll come back.
I will just say that I write a lot of different genres, and living in New Orleans was what helped me get there.
Let's see. We'll communicate via chat.
I've written sci-fi, I've written time travel, I've written thriller, I've written stage plays, I've written mystery and humorous romantic suspense. I have over 30 books and short stories. Okay, you can hear me. I feel like I'm all of a sudden in this tunnel and the wind is howling outside. And I'm like, the Wyoming wind is notorious for taking down things. Yeah, I started writing when I was a kid like everybody else. The first thing that I guess you would call published was that I had a stage play produced at a university. And that was really fun and exciting. But ultimately, it's one of those things where you have to do a lot of things. And I was a young mom. So my first actual sale as an author was a children's story. And then I started working my way into adult stories. And I always joke that it was the first Gulf War that inspired me to write my first novel. So a war, why not?
Did that feed into your story?
Hopefully everybody can still hear me. They talk a lot about the wind here. Let's see, go back to the private. Definitely the Gulf War did. I don't know how many people here, I'm sure some of our authors here remember it. It was such an unusual war because it was the first war where they embedded reporters. And so we got to see all this technology and everything. And people would talk about all the stuff. You'd be standing in the grocery line and people would be talking, sorry, my thing fell out, what happened in the war that day and what new armament. And they had books, little pamphlets about all the armament. And my dad would call me up because he'd been in World War II and the Korean War, and he would talk about all the, it sounds crazy now, but the cool armament. And it was just an interesting way to fight a war because it was just exciting. And there was the Scud Stud. I don't know how many of you remember that. Okay. I have over 40 products for sale. I'm always trying to count it up. I think it's about 40 original with my novels and short stories and novellas. So my holiday special is for my Big Uneasy. I'm doing a 30% discount on the whole series. There are 8 books and 2 short stories and a novella, but you can only get it through my store. I can't do that kind of discount on Amazon or anything. But Amy will post the link and the code, and you can get the whole series for 30% off. And this is my series that's set in New Orleans, obviously. It's a romantic suspense, kind of over the top, fun look at New Orleans the way I saw it. What is next for me? Right now I'm working on my sci-fi series. I launched a new series on Kickstarter last month. It's called The Cyborg Chronicles. I know my family looks at me like, what the heck? Our mom is writing about cyborgs, but it's really fun. I like doing it.
I love it. Pauline, can you hear me now? Still no?
I can, and I can see you. Yeah, sorry about that.
Hey, it's okay.
I think it was the wind. It was
Things
just
happen.
howling.
I'm telling you, things happen, and we just roll with it. That's why the private chat right there was invented, everybody, was for moments like that. That's why that was definitely invented. But Pauline, thank you so much for joining us on the 12 days and talking to us. I know we kind of had to, wing it and adjust a little bit, but it still was a fantastic conversation. And I know that your holiday promotion is fantastic. So thank you so much for doing that this holiday season.
Well, thank you. This was really fun. I don't know. I seem to be the one that always ends up talking. Is anybody there? The wild-eyed.
Hey, I have done my fair share of those. My fair share, for sure. But you guys, coming up next is Doug Lawrence. So, Doug, how are you this evening? Maybe if he wants to come to my stage. There you are. I found you.
I'm here. Yes.
You've made it. You've made it. How are you?
I'm doing okay. I'm doing okay.
Good. So tell us what genre you write in and how long you've been a writer.
So I'm going to put myself in the coaching and mentoring genre
Okay.
And I'll maybe explain how that sort of came to be here not too long ago. And I probably have been not full-time dedicated to it, but I've been writing since about 2012, where I got kind of the kick in the seat of the pants, so to speak, to start writing my first book. And so I've been at it since about 2012.
So what was your inspiration that made you decide to write and publish a book?
Well, the kick in the seat of the pants helped a lot, but what it was for me was certainly with the first book, I had been writing a lot of articles for my blog site, and some colleagues of mine said, you need to pull all that together into a book and tell the story about mentoring, because you're doing lots of great things in that mentoring space. So when that was with the gift of mentoring, that's how it came to be.
I love that. So tell us a little bit about what your books are about. I know you put yourself in the coaching and mentor category. So how does that relate to your books? What subject matter are they on?
So the last book, the book that is a part of our conversation tonight, the book is entitled "You Are Not Alone," and it's a book about mentoring and mental health. And the idea behind it is that when you take a look at the mental health space, that there's this huge gap between the time that people can get professional help to when they have their next appointment with somebody, and it's to find or have somebody in between that space that can be there to provide the support structure that's needed for that person to be able to get through some of the challenges that they're going to be dealing with. And so that's how that book came to be. You Are Not Alone. People did much the same thing as what happened with the gift of mentoring, was that I kind of got that friendly push or that nudge to be able to say, okay, if you're doing this on a day-to-day basis, we need you to put it into a book and share it with everybody else so that we too, or that they too, can be part of that support structure. And so that's what we did. That's what I did, was wrote the book. I with You Are Not Alone, I'll get my plugs in now. It's an Amazon #1 bestseller, and also in the Global Book Awards, it was the bronze medalist. So those two things I had to share. But where it's going with the book is that what I found is that I brought in 5 or 6 individuals who told their story that became part of the book itself, on top of a lot of the stories that I had, the lived experiences that I shared in the book. And I guess as a bit of a backdrop is that I'm a retired Royal Canadian Mounted Police officer, and having served about 25 years and ending up with post-traumatic stress as a result of my service in the force. And I share some of those experiences in You Are Not Alone. Part of what we also share are some lived experience, some real situations that have taken place that had an impact on me, but also an impact on my family, my wife at that particular time point, or wife soon to be, I guess. And it was, being able to kind of wrap my head around, okay, how am I going to deal with this? Because ironically, back then there was no support structure to provide assistance or help me get through the trauma and all of those things. And so it was trying to be able to figure all that out and to find the coping mechanisms that I needed in order to be able to work my way through a lot of that stuff, rather than taking the cork off the Scotch bottle and sitting down in the living room of my house, or my trailer as it may be, and drinking, trying to create the solution to all the problems simply by drinking. And as I know now, that doesn't work.
Yeah, I mean, it's much better to have something like that than to feel alone, right? And I think the title is brilliant, that you are not alone, because I know definitely in those situations, right, you feel like that. And so it's amazing, and I think it's beautiful that you wrote that and you put yourself out there, and the other stories that are out there as well, because it is very important and it's not talked about a whole lot, like mental health and things like that and how to overcome it, because you do feel alone.
Well, yeah, and what I typically tell people, and I see this in a lot of situations, is if you can just take a moment and just visualize somebody keeping themselves locked in a closet in the house and afraid to come out because they don't have anyone to turn to, and like you said, they're alone. There's no support structure or anything like that. And what we try to tell them, what the book tries to tell them, is that it's okay to feel that way, but what you want to be able to do is to say, I need help. And you need to reach out with your hand and reach out of that closet that you're in and say, I need help. Can somebody help me? And there will be somebody there to help you. And when they offer you that hand, when they offer you that help, you need to embrace that moment, and you need to be able to move forward with that and use that as part of your coping mechanism.
Right, for sure. And I think it's important to, remember in times like that you're not alone. There's people there. You have to just vocalize that you need them, right? I think that's always important. Sometimes you have to put your ego or your pride aside, right? And just be like, I need you to give me a big hug. Okay, that's what I need. I teach my daughters that when they're throwing the biggest fit, I'm like, do you need a hug? And they're just like, yes, and everything stops, no matter if I'm yelling at them or what. Not that ever happens. I never yell at my children, never. But I do love that, and I am a firm advocate for mental health, especially with PTSD, because I feel like it's something that many are suffering from, and it's not spoken a lot. So I commend you on writing that book. I'm sure that book was difficult in a sense to write when you were writing kind of from your own experiences and then the others that joined in. I bet that was a process. So how long did it take you to write this book?
It was probably close to the year, start to finish, to be able to get it to where I was comfortable. And the message was so important, because it's like, you're given 60 seconds to make a difference. And you need, in that 60 seconds, you need to give it your best shot. And that's what I tried to do with this, was to capture the essence of mentoring as we know it today, capture what's missing in the mental health space, and then can we get mentoring to be part of that support structure, which we can. It's very evident, very clear that that's a path that we can definitely follow.
For sure. And I love that, I don't encounter very many books that talk about mental health and have, the PTSD and just other stories in there, right? I don't encounter very many books like that. So, kudos to you and congratulations on being an Amazon bestseller and winning the Bronze Award. Of course you can mention those. Those are big accomplishments that you could have led with that. Yes, please drop those. I'm huge in supporting that in all realms. So what is next for you? Are you going to write another kind of mentor book, or do you already have one in mind? What's next for you?
So I'll go out on a limb and say I'm 95% complete on my next book, which is it's entitled The Silent Pandemic. And I actually got to see it's still draft, but the book cover, oh my gosh, unbelievable. Unbelievable. I hope when we have this conversation in a year's time, you get to see the book cover, because it literally grabbed my attention, and I went, oh yeah, this is good. Yeah. And the Silent Pandemic is actually looking at it from the aspect of grief. So, and with cancer being the leading cause of death globally, it was, how do we deal with that? How can mentoring be a part of that? How can it play a part in that? And also mental health, and the fact that when COVID came along, we declared it a pandemic, but we've got situations out there. Cancer is one. Number two would be mental health, that are just as much a pandemic, but we don't want to talk about them in that context. And what I hope to be able to do by writing The Silent Pandemic is, number one, bring mentoring back into the picture again, but also to get people to sort of realize or see that, there's some things here that have been left untouched, unsaid, and we need to be able to kind of come together and start to work on that. Because I lost my wife, Deborah, to cancer in 2021. And a lot of my, friends are struggling with members of their family having, being diagnosed with cancer and all of that. It's so difficult for people that, we need to have that extra support for them to be able to get through some of that.
Right. Absolutely. It's definitely not something that is talked about, and it should be. Both of those things should be, mental health and cancer. So I definitely understand that. And yes, Greg, yes, definitely. 100%, Greg, you understand. And so, Doug, I'm so sorry to hear about your wife. I can only imagine. Yeah. And, I love, you're my kind of people, Doug, because you are not afraid to tackle tough conversations or topics in a book and put it out there to make a difference, because it will impact one person, and one person at a time, right, makes a difference, even if you make a difference in one person's life. And so I'm here for it, Doug, and I love it. And however I can support you, please let me know. But what holiday promotion are you offering this holiday season?
So You Are Not Alone, the ebook, the Kindle, whichever I'm offering a free book promotion The promotion starts tonight, Monday, December 5th at 12 midnight Pacific Standard Time, and it will run until the 9th of December at midnight Pacific Standard Time.
Wonderful. Well, Doug, thank you so much. One, for your holiday promotion this holiday season, and two, for joining me on the 12 Days of Page Turners. It's always such a delight to talk to you, and for getting out there and making a difference in the world. Kudos to you, because hats off to you. That's a big undertaking that you're doing, and you're not afraid to do it. And I support you 100% in doing that.
Thank you for your support.
Oh, of course. Of course. So you guys, I've entered full screen here. You guys, it has been an amazing day 5 of the Page Turners, and you have met some amazing authors that I get to call my friends, my best friends, my family, that I get to talk to and read their books. And you guys need to take advantage of their holiday promotions, because like I say, every 12 days, every night, the best gift that you can give anyone this holiday season is a book. And you can take them to different worlds, avenues, but you can support and help them if they are doing self-help, need inspiration, or anything like that. And so you have the opportunity with all these different genres and authors to give that gift this holiday season. So everybody's promotion and holiday offers are in the comment section below. They will be listed in the replay of this video. But until tomorrow night, everybody, I hope you guys have a great rest of your